I appreciate you introducing him. I want to tell you guys what Zach is to me. He's my employee, so he has to listen to me and do everything I say, but that's kind of true. He's an associate, and what it took for him to become an associate therapist takes more resiliency than most people have in one pinky, okay? His spinal cord injury wasn't just about losing functioning in his body. It's about overcoming, you know, that thing inside you where you get embarrassed. Anybody here get embarrassed? Right? I mean, imagine being embarrassed, not knowing how people are looking at you, knowing how people are looking at you, having people not know, do I help? Do I stay away? What do I do? And this guy pushes through every day to help. I heard you guys talking about what you do as an organization. You guys are in the world of philanthropy and helping other people. And so this young gentleman here is just a marker for philanthropy and helping. He's got one of the greatest hearts, one of the greatest minds, and the resiliency he has is something we should all strive for, okay? And so, Zach, is it okay if we show your story first? And then we're gonna show his story. I'd like you guys all to pay attention, and then I'm gonna interview him. And if you guys have questions, yell it out, put your hand up, speak up, and soak everything you can from him tonight, okay? If you see him down there and you have a burning question, before he tries to slink out of here, because he's gonna try that, grab him and talk to him, okay, you guys? So here is Zach's story.
Zachary, get inside! Seriously. My name's Amber Collie. I have 4 children. I have Zach, Levi, Caden, and a princess named Layla. I have an awesome family. You know, I remember telling my friends, oh my gosh, I have 4 kids at 4 schools and this is crazy. And little did I know, now that seems like nothing. Okay, it was Memorial Day, 2010. We had wanted to go to a pool and barbecue at our neighbor's house, and we told Zach. And he really wanted to go to the beach with his friends, and I felt like I gave in, like, yeah, okay, all right, fine, you know, you go. So I remember going to this pool party, and the little ones were swimming, and the barbecue was just being started, and a boy that lives there is my son Levi's age, and he came up to me and said, is Levi coming? So I went up and got my phone. I remember I noticed a voicemail message, and
we were there almost all day. We've been in the water, decided to go back out one more time. I remembered it being cold, so I decided I was just gonna run in, dive into the water, get used to it really quick. I ran to dive under a wave, hit a sandbar. I'm gonna die at 15 years old. I can't believe this happened to me. I remember being dragged. He let go of my arms. It was like they weren't even attached to my body.
the mom that drove them down there, it was her. She simply said, there's been an accident. Zach's at Hoag Hospital. You need to get down here right away. I knew it was bad. I sensed immediately this is serious. But I had no idea that it was that serious. I'm trying to dial his friend, and he says, Amber, Zach's not moving. Zach's not moving. You see in the movies, Mr. and Mrs. Collie have a seat, and he said, I won't sugarcoat it. He said, it's really bad. They had done some x-rays and an MRI, and they're waiting on the results. He had, the big neck brace on, so he could hardly look over at me, but he just smiled. And for me, that moment was, he's alive. Like, he's alive. Like, I felt like it didn't matter. Like, at that moment for me, as his mom, I just felt like it doesn't matter. Like, whatever it is, he's alive. It's like, we're gonna deal with this. If Zach can live in a body that all of a sudden doesn't work, as being as active as he used to be, like knowing who he is, if he can do it with a smile on his face, then I can do it. I can sit there and walk beside him.
I have never broken a bone in my body until I broke my neck. I grew up riding dirt bikes, surfing. I was just always outdoors. I'm always hanging out with my friends.
He is paralyzed. He lost the function of his body, and from day one chose to move forward, and I think we kind of followed suit. It did happen. It did happen to our family, and there's nothing that can change that. But that doesn't mean he can't have a good life. It doesn't mean everything stops and we just feel sorry for ourselves and curl up in a ball and hide.
Zack can face life with those challenges and not complain. Causes me not to complain as much either.
This injury could happen to anybody. Therapy and rehab was just what we did.
When I first got hurt, I couldn't even push my wheelchair on my own. And so that was a big struggle for me because I had no freedom. I couldn't go anywhere on my own. Just like simple things you take for granted.
His legs, they shake to the point where we actually strap him down. We tie him down at night. So he is 7 to 10 hours, depending on how long he sleeps, in the same position. If he just wants to sit on the couch, what it takes to get him from his now wheelchair to the couch to the bed.
If I want something, a glass of water, to brush my teeth, I always have to wait for someone to do it for me. And sometimes that's really frustrating. One of the biggest things I've had to learn is patience. Would give anything to have my independence back, but now going to school, getting my life on the right track to get out in the world and eventually be independent on my own one day is what drives me. I'm gonna get there one day, it's just gonna take a little longer. I like to tell people I'm still the same person I was before my accident. I wanna have a family one day and live on my own, have a house. I love to go to concerts, go to the beach, I'm still me.
I get amazed and blessed to watch Zack's coping with life because it gives me inspiration.
We work a lot on upper body in hopes of one day that I'll be able to transfer myself into my chair, into a seat. That's a big goal we have.
It's very important. His body gets moved, gets worked out, doesn't atrophy. There's definitely something about giving back. Just seems like the most natural thing to do.
I've grown a lot more compassionate for others too. It's made me definitely want to help more people. Don't take life for granted. Be appreciative for what you have. Never give up. Persevere.
Pretty incredible story. Obviously, he was young at that point. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
And you've got a tattoo. It says perseverance. And without perseverance, you cannot become resilient. And most people who believe they are resilient are not. Sorry. I know that's offensive. But my question to you is, how do you define resiliency?
So I would define resiliency, like you said, you can't be resilient without persevering. And so for me, what that means is to basically never quit, never give up, no matter how hard life gets, no matter how you're feeling, it really doesn't matter. You are in control of what you want to do. And I wake up every day, I have to have someone help me out of bed, but I still choose to wake up with a smile on my face. I still choose to move forward. I still choose to never quit. And so simply put, to persevere, to be resilient is to never quit, to never give up, no matter how hard life gets. And I want to add not only just that, but whether or not your situation changes or get better. It doesn't matter if I ever walk again or not. I'm still going to choose every day to persevere, to move forward, and to not stop moving.
You said something kind of interesting, and I don't know if you guys caught that. He said, your feelings don't matter. And being a therapist, we're not supposed to say stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And so, really think about that. Your feelings don't matter when it comes to your resiliency. And so when you say that, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's very emotional. When I broke my neck, it was very hard. I probably experienced every emotion possible in a very short amount of time, and ultimately my feelings didn't change my circumstances. I had to focus on what I could still control, which was mainly my mindset. I lost all of my physical abilities, so I had to focus on what I could still control, and I couldn't always really control my feelings, so my feelings didn't matter.
Okay. How I feel isn't playing much of a role in what the right decision is for my future. What was the biggest feeling, Zack, that could have gotten in the way of your perseverance and resiliency? Was there a moment that you really struggled with how you were feeling?
Yeah, I remember after my accident, I was laying in the hospital bed, and I had to really have an internal conversation with myself about what I was going to do, how I was going to move forward. And as I'm talking to myself in the hospital bed, I came to two conclusions. I knew that I couldn't change what happened. What happened, happened. I had to accept that. And my only two options were I could either give up and quit, I could feel sorry for myself, or I could suck it up, I could fight, and I could move forward. Those are the only two options I had. I could get bitter, or I could get better. And the choice was easy. I wanted to fight. I didn't want to quit. I was not willing to believe that this was what my life was going to be. I wasn't willing to let my circumstances dictate my future. I don't know how in the heck I was going to do it, but I knew that this was not it for me. There had to be a bigger plan. There had to be a bigger purpose for my life. And in order for me to get there and figure it out, I had to move forward.
Yeah, I love that. I assume that back when you were a little surfer punk kid, you weren't going to be a therapist?
No.
No.
No way.
So, I mean, this is kind of cold, but what made you think that you, of all people, could be a therapist, helping other people, become somebody that has that kind of influence?
So it's really interesting, looking back at my life and seeing all of the hard things that I've gone through and the doors that I've opened in my life that would have never opened if I didn't go through what I've been through. And so I never planned on going to college. When I was in high school, I was a athlete. I was a C's get degrees mentality. I did not care about academics. And so when my accident happened, it took away all of my physical ability. So my only option was to start focusing on my brain. And I got a wheelchair scholarship that gave me the opportunity to go to college. And in college, I took a class that really transformed my life and put me on the path that I am now. And it was a summer class called Character and Conflict. And it was the first time in my life where I actually looked forward to going to school and learning. And there's one week during summer where they actually had to cancel it. And I was pissed off because I was genuinely looking forward to it. And so it was run by a licensed therapist, part-time, and a part-time lecturer. And it just completely redirected my life. I had that light bulb moment. I knew after my injury that I needed a purpose bigger than myself. I needed to focus my attention on other people. I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how I was going to do that. And in that class, I had that light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I could help people. I still have my brain. I still have my voice. I can talk to people. I could be a therapist. And so my first thought was, I don't want to listen to people's problems because no one's going through what I'm going through. So that was my original thought, but that changed over time. And I realized in my heart, that was the way I could give back to other people. That was the way I could make a difference in other people's lives, is by sharing my story and becoming a therapist.
I love that. For you young men, I know you guys all have plans. In fact, I'm pretty sure most of your parents have more plans for you than you do. And there's probably 50% of you that are glad to do this and you're in this young men's club, and then the other half, you're not telling your parents that you want to be somewhere else, and there's probably been a couple of you that were supposed to be here and didn't show up. And my point is, you guys have plans, okay? He had a lot of plans. And your plans are not going to come to fruition. Having a great plan is something that you do along the way, but it's that much of success and resiliency. Resiliency is, I'm going to control the things that I cannot control and have patience as I look for another opportunity, as doors open up for me. Okay, so all of you sitting here, I don't think that you're gonna have the tragedy that Zach went through, but your plans are not going to work. Sorry. But for those of you who choose what Zach did, which is to put one foot in front of the other, I know that's a bad thing to say, but he'll get over it. Looking for opportunities, and then again, I'm going to say that word patience. Did you guys hear that in the video? This guy, I am his supervisor. I'm supposed to be helping him. And I can tell you one thing. The patience I have in life over the last 3 years has increased substantially, which has opened up doors I didn't know were going to open up. Right? Resiliency is patience. It's being able to control the things that you can control when everything goes awry, when you cannot fulfill that dream that you had for yourself. And as I say that, what comes to my mind is there's some low points. And I know there was the low points in the hospital. But after that, after you were on your journey becoming a therapist, did you have any low moments that you can think of?
Yeah, I think for me, other than my injury and losing my independence, it's the fear of failure, the fear of always needing help for certain things, feeling like I'm a burden to others because I do need help with things. You know, my 15-year anniversary is coming up. May 31st, this month, will mark 15 years of me being paralyzed. And I got paralyzed when I was 15. So half my life I was able-bodied and half my life I've been paralyzed. And I'm still not walking. So it's a daily battle, you know, and you were talking about how plans don't always work out. This is not something I ever plan on happening. I never plan on being a therapist. And one of the things I want to share is when we can't always control the cards that life deals us. We can't always control the circumstances that we go through in life. But the one thing we can always control, the one thing that will never be taken away from us, is how we respond to those situations.
Your response is sometimes based on a lot of internal motivation, including your faith. And I know in this day and age, we're not supposed to talk about faith, but we do. We do everywhere we go, and that was a big part of your resilient journey. Do you mind speaking to that a little bit? And I know that you have a certain verse that you like to share.
Absolutely. So for me growing up, I grew up going to church. You know, Sundays meant waking up early, which I was never happy about. And I always fought with my dad about not wanting to go. I wanted to sleep in. I went to school all week. I didn't want to do that, so the weekends were about me. This was my time. Waking up at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning was the last thing I wanted to do. And it usually started with lots of arguing, lots of fighting. My dad would drag me to church, and because of things that I would say to him, which I shouldn't have, I would get in trouble. So Sundays were never a positive, happy day for me. I knew about God, and I knew who he was, but he was not a priority in my life. And then after my injury happened, I questioned a lot of that. I was confused. I asked him why he let this happen to me. I questioned, did I do something to deserve this? Why me? And so I decided after my injury, he didn't help me. So I kind of was like, all right, well, I got to do this on my own. And then I got to a point in my life where I realized I'm doing the best I can, but it's not working and it's not enough. I needed help. So I went back to God and decided to fully surrender and make him the priority in my life and see what he would do. And when I did that, man, my life completely changed. It's crazy looking back these 15 years and seeing what I've accomplished, how much I've accomplished, the person that I've become. My whole perspective on life has changed. And I view that as the doors that he's opened in my life that would have never opened if I would have let him take the wheel.
I love that. You said something to me the other day when we were working on a course that we're collaborating on, and you said, let me try to remember what you said. You said basically that you didn't say you were glad that you became paralyzed, but you were glad for the life that you were living, I think, and you would never give any of it up. Did you mean you wouldn't give up being paralyzed?
Yeah, so a lot of people have asked me that, the question of, if I could go back to that day, would I change what happened? And I've thought about this hundreds of times in the middle of the night, laying in my bed, still not being able to move. And my honest answer is, if I could go back to that day and change what happened, not go to the beach, not dive into that wave, and I'd have to lose everything that I've learned, everything that I've gained, all that I've accomplished, my heart, my perspective on life, no, I would not change it. There's no value bigger than that for me. And that's my honest answer, because I feel like my injury has given my life the meaning and purpose that I was looking for. And I don't think there's any amount of money or anything that can be better than that.
I love that you said purpose. All of you gentlemen sitting here, find purpose at every stage of your life. To be a resilient man means that you are a man living with purpose. Your purpose will change. He's got a child coming on the way. He's taking care of a stepchild. He's a brilliant father already. I have a young daughter who's 6. And so we've got some purpose that's coming out of a lot of fear. It's coming out of a lot of just joy and happiness. But our purpose is shifting at this point of our lives. Your purpose will shift. Right now, you're sitting at this table, you're eating amazing food, you've got all the hope and your purpose might be, I don't know, finding that great girl, finding the college, finding whatever it is. But when I'm talking about purpose, I'm not just talking about that I'm seeking the stuff that I want in life. To be a resilient man, you will find little small purposes. It might be a purpose that is important for the day because you're reaching out to somebody who needs your connection. It might be a huge thing that you're doing because you made that connection in that philanthropic thing you did for Young Men's League, and you're gonna chase that down to change the world. Purpose is small, purpose is big, but you never live a day without purpose. Does that make sense? Okay. In your experience, I know that you had this shift in mindset. And it's one I think that is important for us to talk about. And somebody facing your tragedy is going to get stuck. Who's gotten stuck? You're just like, man, I'm stuck. I don't know how to move forward in life, right? And you were stuck in every sense of that word, emotionally, physically, spiritually. How'd you get unstuck? What was the shift?
One word: gratitude. For me, this injury taught me how to be grateful. It made me realize all the little things in my life that I never thought about that I was taken advantage of. And I had to really shift my focus from the things that I lost, from the things that I couldn't do anymore. And this injury took away freaking so much. To what I still had, what I could still do. I could have easily died that day at the beach, and my parents would be visiting my gravestone every year, mourning the loss of their 15-year-old son. But instead, I'm still alive. I'm alive in a body that doesn't work anymore, but I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the relationship that I have with my family, that this injury brought me way closer to my family than I was before. I was a typical older brother. I have 3 younger siblings. I picked on them. I did not have a good relationship with my family. I focused on myself. I did not care about others. My parents and my siblings are my best friends. I see them at least every week. And that is probably one of the biggest things I'm grateful for. It taught me the value of family, what's important to me. I could go on and on about the things that I'm grateful for in life. Gratitude will change your life.
Yeah, and that's something that is hard for me to remember in my life sometimes. When big things are happening, I get wrapped up in, I got to fix this problem. Oh man, how are there's these many hits. How could this person actually think that thing? I'm running a business. I can't tell you how many times I'm going, what is wrong with people? And what is wrong with people? How could this happen to me? Why is this going on? Has never helped me take a single step towards success. But the moment I stop and say, okay, I'm grateful for this, and it might be something small. That shift in my life, and ever since I've met Zach, I've been able to do it a lot more and a lot quicker. The moment you change from, how am I going to fix this problem? Why is this happening? To, what am I grateful for? What's wild is that opens up answers. It brings you to a place of being resilient more than any other mind shift that you can make. We work with a lot of depressed people. I mean, the amount of calls we get for depressed teens is unbelievable. And one of the questions we ask that's different than other therapists is, who have you shown gratefulness to lately, and who have you helped? And that's such an insulting thing to ask somebody, that's depressed. But I can tell you that that line of questioning helps more people get out of depression than us coddling how hard it is for them. And I don't want to minimize. We get some wild stories, but even with Zach, as his supervisor, he's really good. I'm one of the harshest supervisors and therapists you'll ever meet. The way that he allows people to push him, and when he is in a really stuck, hard place, I instantly see him go from frustrated to gracious and grateful. And I have never seen somebody turn that on like I've seen in him. And that is, I believe, the number one reason he's one of the happiest and youngly successful people that I have ever met. I want you to talk about pain, okay? Pain equals growth, in our opinions. How has suffering and pain shaped you?
So I would not be where I am today without having gone through all the pain and suffering that I've been through. I would not have become a therapist. I wouldn't have gone to college. I wouldn't have become a therapist. I probably wouldn't be married right now. I wouldn't be expecting a kid, and I sure would not be speaking up here in front of all of you right now. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Romans 5:3-5. And it says that not only so, but we also glory in our suffering because we know that suffering produces perseverance. And what that means is hard times make us stronger. My natural reaction, I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I go through something that's painful, I want to avoid it. I don't want to do it. I want to run away from it. I was nervous about speaking in front of all of you tonight, but I knew that if I did something that scares me, if I did something that I wasn't sure I could do or not, and I did it, it's gonna feel so good and I'm gonna grow. You can't grow without doing things out of your comfort zone. You can't grow if you never lose in life, if you never fail, you're never gonna get better, you're never gonna get stronger. So this injury has taught me the importance of doing things that scare you, doing things out of your comfort zone, embracing suffering. Hard times don't last forever, but they will make you stronger.
I love that. Parents, real quick, he just told you that the secret to your children's success is to fail and to feel pain. And I'm not going to call you out, but I want you to ask yourselves, how often are you working so hard to prevent these young men who are probably really resilient from suffering and experiencing pain because you love them so much and you want to protect them? And my challenge is, ask yourself, am I actually protecting them when I stop them from experiencing pain? The answer is no, you're not, by the way. And then you young men sitting here, I want you to ask yourself, how often do you allow that instinct that he's talking about to avoid pain and avoid failure? And sometimes you don't avoid failure by doing better, you just don't do the thing that you would fail at, or you make excuses, right? How often are you not just reveling, embracing the failure and the pain? There is not one truly resilient, successful person on this planet who did not grow more from pain and failure than they did from their easy successes. And so as you walk out of here tonight, this is a big event for you. This is a transition in your life. I want you walking out thinking about how you are going to face pain from now on, how you are going to face failure. And again, parents, can you get out of their way, please? Okay. Walk alongside them, don't prevent it. We have this term called being comfortably miserable. Being comfortably miserable is that thing. You sit and you know you want to change, but you don't change because it's easier just to not do anything. It might be that, man, I was going to get up early, but I didn't. And I'm so mad at myself, but I'm not going to change. It might be that I'm really not happy with how I'm doing in school or as my role in the family, but it's just easier to not take that shameful step of facing the thing, right? A lot of change means you face the shame, you face the uncomfortable feelings, you admit that you need help. He said earlier, asking for help was a big part of his journey. You cannot get out of that comfortably miserable. I'm doing the wrong thing and I'm miserable about it, but it's so comfortable that I don't want to take the painstaking steps to get out of that misery. Comfortably miserable, right? You're an expert on not being comfortable. And every day you face things that make you uncomfortable. And can you give them advice on how to do that?
So I don't know how many of you are familiar. There's this former Navy SEAL, his name's Jocko, and he has this thing that he talked about on YouTube, this mindset, where he was talking about, he was on a phone call with one of his buddies that was just going through a hard time in life. And his response to him was, good. Are you stressed out? Good. Are you overwhelmed? Good. Do you not know what college you're going to go to yet? Good. Because it forces you to figure things out. And I look back on my life and all the hard times I've gone through, and I'm like, good, I'm glad I went through them, because it made me the man I am today. It got me to where I am today. It got me to a point in my life where I never expected to be. I never planned on going to college. I never planned on getting my master's degree. I never planned on becoming a therapist. I feel like I've accomplished more in my life right now than I would have accomplished in my entire previous life had my injury never happened. And that's because I've chose to stay focused on what's in front of me and not get stuck on the past and what happened to me and what's behind me. There's this quote by this rapper Jelly Roll. He won an award last year or 2 years ago, and in his speech he said there's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror, and that's because we need to keep our sights focused on what's in front of us, not what's behind us.
I don't want you to get lost in his analogy. It's what's in front of you that you can control. It's what's in front of you that you can see, not what you're imagining is in front of you. We call those what ifs. Has anybody heard that? Right? What ifs are terrible. Right? What if I don't go to the right college? I'm going to tell you right now, man, you're wrestling with this decision. It's not all that important. You're going to college. You want it. Whatever you choose, you're going to kill it, and you're going to fail a lot. And if you focus on what's in front of you, you're going to have more options. And so sometimes we go, what if? And I can remember, man, I gave up when I was your age. I was like him. I went, yeah, I'm not going to college. And instead, I did go to college, but only to play water polo. I loved water polo. I just wanted to play water polo. And somehow, I'll tell you this, I failed history of rock in college. Can you believe that? It is unbelievable. Till this day, I want to go back to that class, but they don't have it. But I made all the wrong decisions when it came to college, and I somehow found a whole lot of great decisions to make, and I got several degrees, and I met amazing people along the way, okay? Look at what's in front of you that you control. Remember what was behind you, but don't keep looking at it. That's what that analogy is talking about. Don't get caught up in the what if. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. What would you say as we wrap up? If there's somebody, some of these kids, man, they're stuck on something right now and they're feeling like it's not that big a deal just because you're up here, but to them it's huge. Yeah. Some of these kids feel like they can't put one foot in front of the other, take that next step. If you had one of them come up to you and say, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I've tried all the things that you're talking about. I want to do what you're talking about. What would you tell them?
When I was in high school, I was sitting in my history class. This was after my injury happened. I might have been a junior, I'm guessing. And my high school history teacher said something that I've never forgotten. I'm so grateful I was paying attention in class that day, because if I'm being honest, I did not always pay attention. But these words burned in my soul, and I use them as a life motto, and they have played a role in helping me get to where I am today. He said, I don't know the context he said the words, but all I remember is him saying, improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's been my mentality ever since. And that's what I would share with anyone who is struggling. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. You can do it. I'm not special, guys. I don't want you looking at me thinking I'm some special guy that was able to overcome this major life tragedy. If I can do it, so can any single person in this room. I was not born with a special gift of being resilient, of having this strong mind. I built it, I created it. I chose to move forward. I chose not to quit and give up when I could. That would have been the easy way. But I chose not to do that. I chose to fight. I chose to believe that there was a bigger plan for my life. I didn't know how I was gonna get to where I am today, but I took those little steps every day, day by day, that eventually got me here. So can anyone else in this room.
Improvise, adapt, overcome. I'd like everybody to say this. You guys are going to get real uncomfortable now. Everybody, right? On the count of three, I want you to say improvise, adapt, and overcome. And here's why. I don't want you forgetting this part of this presentation in a month or in a year. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Those three things are a series of decisions. You don't successfully do that just in a moment. You'll notice he used this word over and over again, choices. I made the choice to. I made the decision to. For some of you, sometimes it's going to be, I made the choice to get out of bed today. And then I had to try to make that choice again the next day. I made the choice to show up to class today, even though I'm failing. It's a series of choices that help you get there. The improvising doesn't happen all at once. It's, okay, I'm gonna try this, then I'm gonna try that. The adapting doesn't happen all at once. It's, all right, didn't adapt very well in this way. They are constant series of decisions, and as I've watched this season of his life, some of the things that he shows up for, some of the decisions on a daily basis that he is willing to make, and they don't all go well,
No.
is unbelievable. Now, he makes these decisions with something that is very important, and this is what we're going to end on, okay? There's some of you who are kind of like me most of my life. Most of my life, I was kind of cynical, happy but negative, very quick to pass judgment. This dude is the most positive, happy, non-judgmental person I have ever met. I thought I was in a good season of being positive and nice and happy, and then this guy, I hire this dude, and he raised the bar in a way I couldn't have imagined. And so you cannot make those decisions without a positive, and it's so cliche, without a positive mindset. And it's not just I'm positive about my life. You'll notice what I said. It's positive. I'm not judging others around me. I'm finding that happiness in every little moment. Would you agree with that?
This is going to sound super cliche as well, but in my mind, what I was thinking when you were saying that is a negative mind will never give you a positive life, ultimately.
Okay, but thank you very much, Jeff. Anything else?
Thank you, guys. I'm so grateful to be able to share my story in front of all of you, and I hope it at least impacted one person here. So thanks for listening to us talk.